Hello again. In this video I'm going to show you the dimensions of our workshop for your reference. If you're setting up a workshop, looking for a workshop, looking at getting machinery and wondering how much space it's going to take up, this should give you a really useful visual reference. So let's start outside with the office that I may not have shown you much of. This was a brilliant thing to invest in. We bought this container, had it lifted in. It is what it is now, it's functional, but this is a 20-foot long by 8-foot wide container. That's the external dimensions. I have a feeling it was listed as a 21-foot length, but it's actually, I measured it at 20.5 feet long. I thought when I got it, will this be big enough? This has been great. Obviously we could use the space much better. We could tidy it up, but you can comfortably have these two desks here. This could be much better used. This is one of our old games tables. We could have another 2 or 3 workspaces there. You know, this is plenty for a team of our sort. We have team meetings in here. We can all get in here. Now the shutter, we had our landlord put this in, and I'm so glad we did. I wish it was a bit wider. The opening is 2.7 meters wide, so with care a forklift can bring in 8-foot boards, but it's a bit of a problem with 10-foot boards. We make do, it's fine really. So now let's look at the panel saw. This is a Wadkin CP32, which means it's got a 3200mm long sliding table. These things take up a lot of room, and this is a challenge when you're planning your space. So let's just have a look. Now just to put this into context, from that wall to this wall, so the width of the workshop is about 8.5 meters. So we've got our 3.2 meter long sliding table. You can see how close that comes to this whole CNC arrangement with the board stack that has the lifter. That's where the lifter's often parked, but that lifter goes back and forth to here. So 3.2 meters here, 4.4 from the end of that to the face of the board racks. It might look less because of the distortion on the wide angle view, but that's 4.4 meters. And we've got 2.4 meters or thereabouts from the blade side of the sliding table, 2.4 meters from there to this kind of fence in front of the wood waste heater. When you're cutting, of course, let's just see the maximum extent of this and how it interferes with the rest of the workshop. So if we are ripping down a 10-foot board, we're going to have to take it to about there to cut right through, and that is of course another 3.2 meters from the blade area. Yeah, when that's pushed right up, that is about 1.2 meters to this workbench. We put this marker down as a parking bay for one of our carts, which moves around. It's currently in a position to be loaded from the CNC machine, but that cart can live over there, and I really wouldn't want things to be any tighter when it is over there. Now regarding the widths of the panel saw, this face of the machine is 4 meters from the shutter wall. The fence is 1.9 meters from there to the face, more like 2.3 to the blade, and that's as short as that fence can go. The fence can extend to allow for cutting longer boards, but it's generally in that position. And I think early on we entertained the idea that we might be taking this fence off and on, but that really wasn't practical. This red-topped outfeed table, which we built to extend the main table of the panel saw, that's 1.5 meters long, 87 centimeters wide for whatever reason. And this very useful scrap cart on wheels is 1 meter long and 66 centimeters wide. So that, when it gets full, swaps with that one. And the theory is then that we're constantly burning, or sometimes they get over full. Now these board storage racks, they have an internal width, so that's the width of the orange beams, of 3.3 meters. The overall width of this unit is around about 3.5 meters, It's 1.1 meters deep, but actually it's set so it's about 1.3 meters off the rear wall. The struts are 3 meters high, but that top orange bar is about 2.4 meters, though we can't actually reach that high with this board lifter. And a possible future improvement for us would be to get a higher stack and a fancier powered board lifter that could go up higher. That would be a good way of increasing our storage. Although, just chipping in with another thought there, the challenge then is the space for the board lifter itself. So this one has the benefit of being pretty compact. I got this off Derek Barrett some time back. He's upgraded probably, I think, at least twice since then. If we were to get a powered lifter, more like a forklift with a big weighted powered body, then we'd have a bit of a challenge about where that would live. And just so you've got a good overview of our space, this is a necessary fire exit for the adjacent unit. They do have a main door out, but we're obliged to keep this clear. We do have a few carts and they are constantly moving around. And it's when you're busy and you've got lots of material going through that you realise just how much you need quite a lot of space to work in, to store parts in progress in, to move carts. Now, just before we get onto the CNC area, I said I'd talk about the wood waste heater. This has been a really good investment. I would say essential when you're generating so many offcuts, when you're busy, particularly with a CNC machine, the way that it generates offcuts. This eats them up and heats the workspace. This really doesn't get hot on the sides. You may have a little bit of a battle persuading your insurer to understand this, but the only thing that gets hot to the touch really is that front panel there. It's all insulated, and then the heat heads upwards and heats the air that gets blown out of these blowers, which blow very effectively across the workshop. The reason that's as far off the wall as it is, I mean, actually that's about as close as it can get, because that's part of the thing. That's the big fan at the back, which is 44 centimeters gap needed off the back of the unit. You've got the heat pump pipe there heading up as well. That's sort of head height for me, coming up at head height. Did I say heat pump? Heat dump. Heat dump, that is. That's an add-on that I strongly recommend if you're thinking of getting one of these, because it allows you to keep burning things through the summer without roasting yourself in the space, because you just divert the heat out there through the roof instead of through the blowers. Okay, now let's talk CNC machine. Now this is the extractor that just runs the CNC goes to, and the CNC is the only thing that goes to it. That's a DCE brand second-hand thing I bought. It has a dust shaker thing in it. So just giving you context really there to now where the CNC machine is. We have got about as tight of a space for this machine as we could manage. We got it as tight to the wall as was really allowable, on the basis that no one really ever goes through there. There'd be no reason to walk through there when the machine's running. Clearly you can see there would be trapping points. So you really couldn't go any tighter. It's maybe not strictly recommended to have a stack of boards here, because where we are in this zone now is in between the laser barriers. Now, different CNC providers might have different laser barrier setups, but the idea with these is that's a meter wide sort of safe zone, and as soon as you come beyond this edge of it, it will shut the machine off. So you can't even get within reaching distance of the machine before the machine's shut off. So but we just found this was such valuable space to have boards in, and the majority of the time those boards are sitting below the laser height. So this would still work as a safety cutoff if you were to go there to the side of the boards. I'll be honest, we do sometimes have so many boards stacked there that then they're blocking the laser, and then once you override it, you can then keep running the machine. But we feel that it's really not a safety concern, because there's no reason to go through there when the machine's running. We've got the hazard tape and so on. It's about common sense and teaching your workers what not to do. You'll have noticed already that things are tight here. everything really is about as tight as it can be. So you've then, of course, also got, for the CNC, you've got the extractor for cleaning off the bed of the machine. That just about fits where it is without any part of the machine quite hitting it as the CNC machine moves. We shouldn't really be crossing this line, and definitely shouldn't be crossing this line as the CNC machine runs, because that indicates where the hood can run at its furthest point. And then we've got the control box for the CNC, which is pretty tight up to the compressor, and everything's pretty tight up to the edge bander. Now the edge bander we want to be as close as it can be for efficiency's sake, and a lot of this, things are tight, but actually sometimes it's efficient because we generally want to pick a piece up off the CNC, feed it straight into the edge bander, and so on. That's usually then getting offloaded, maybe sort of trimmed and worked on here or on a temporary wheeled bench that we have here sometimes, and then usually going into this cart, which, as you saw earlier, often lives here.